Well, thanks everyone for joining me and BAASS Connect here. Hopefully you've had a great day. I'll move on from this slide just to start the presentation here. So welcome to the session on how to cut costs and reduce risks with 360 degrees of automation. I'm actually going to turn my video on here as well so you can see who I am. Oh, does that move off the screen?
No, we can see you. In most cases, the attendees will either see you in one of the corners or at the top, depending on which platform they're using.
Cool. Well, my name is Dylan, and I'll be your host today. I'm the Channel Development Manager here at Beamworks, and I support BAASS in helping their customers understand and discover the wonders of accounts payable automation. So for the session today, we'll be going over the top challenges in accounts payable. Then we'll take a deeper dive into each of the 4 AP workflows, from purchase orders, invoices, expenses, to payments. And I'll review the unique challenges and opportunities available within each of these. We'll have a short Q&A at the end, but that's after announcing a special promotion that I have for BAASS customers. So please stick around if you're interested in hearing more about that. And with regards to Q&A, please just enter these in as they come up into the Q&A box you see here. And we'll do our best to answer them all at the end. And if you can't, we don't answer them, or these come up later on in the day, when you think about them, please email me directly if you want, or I'll provide you some other information at the end of the presentation. But my email is dylan.hume@beamworks.com if you want to get in touch. So with that, let's just get started. Let's first take a look at the top challenges in accounts payable. First off, there's 70% of AP professionals admitting that manual and inefficient tasks are their top concern. And this will include processes involving data entry, paper, spreadsheets, and follow-up. And then next, it's clear that accounts payable is the most commonly targeted process area for fraudsters, because 82% of AP departments experience some sort of expense abuse or fraud. And finally, it takes more than 20 days to process an invoice on average. And this might be because you have more than one approvers to process a payment, or an invoice just gets stuck in the process, missed, or even lost in a lot of cases. To solve some of these challenges, you need to really address every AP workflow in AP, from purchase orders through to invoices, expenses, and then payments, as there are so many different touch points within each of these that are still done manually. For example, we spoke to a business that said they touch an invoice 5 times before it's actually matched to a check stub and filed away. Taking these processes into account, you're dealing with a large amount of data coming in different formats from multiple sources. This information needs to be securely received, accurately interpreted, and then entered into your financial system in a correct manner. I'm going to get into the tools to help you address these big problems shortly, but first I want to understand what your challenges are better by doing a quick poll here. So Haley, if you could just throw that up, what better question to ask than what are your biggest AP challenges? So I believe the poll's up now, and I'll just read them out for you. First is interdepartmental accountability, or the lack thereof, approval process follow-up, identifying and managing errors in the process, inability to process AP remotely, and then the data entry and coding piece. So I'll give you guys a bit of time here to answer, and then I'll get BAASS to pull it up for us. And you might have others off the list, but we'll get to those later. Okay, anytime now, Haley, I think, if you feel like we've got a lot of people answering already.
Of course.
I don't see them on my end.
Did it show up for you at all?
Not yet. Do I have to click?
Okay. I can read them out. So
Yeah.
the number 1 was the approval process follow-up.
Okay.
Second, tied for second, was interdepartmental accountability and data entry. And tied for third was identifying and managing errors and the inability to process AP automation.
Perfect. Thanks for that. And yeah, the approval process follow-up is often there at the top of the list, as it's quite a hectic process for someone to follow up their own organization on that. But all of these are really valid concerns, and you might even have others off the list, like I mentioned. But hopefully we get through the presentation, we get through all of these and find suitable solutions for you. And also there's the Q&A to answer anything further. So thanks for getting that up, and we'll move on here to the next slide. And that's really starting with the first process in the AP process, which is purchase orders. Close that. Based on data collected from over 200 finance teams, 44%, sorry, that keeps coming up. 44% said that having no formal requisition process at all was their top purchasing challenge. And maybe I'm missing something here, but a lot of your spend comes from your purchases. So how are you really managing your spend if you aren't controlling those purchases? Now, if you do have a purchase requisition process in place, but it's manual, you probably have limited visibility into the open purchase orders. This will make it hard to track your spend as you get accurate data for financial forecasting. And the study from the same study is that 99% of CFOs can't accurately forecast their spend past 30 days. And lastly, another issue that we have here is with managing purchase orders manually is the concern that the PO process can result in purchasing delays, which is probably why a lot of businesses don't have a PO system at all. But with that, let's jump into how purchase order automation can really save and solve these challenges for your business and reduce costs in the process as well. So first off, the system will increase the match rate of your invoices by automating the three-way match process, which will save your team a lot of time on coding invoices and help you identify variances with regards to your purchase orders. And doing these things manually can result in countless hours being wasted searching for supporting documents that you need to see on a moment's notice. Another benefit is budget controls for accurate forecasting. So instead of explaining this further, let's jump into a customer example here that I have on the next slide. So the chief of accounting at one of our customers, Brickell Biotech, talks about their previous manual PO process and how they actually had to create a PDF of their purchase order and use Dropbox to keep track of the invoices and payments against that purchase order. After automating their AP process, however, they've seen benefits of having the centralized system. And as Jose says, the biggest advantage is having it all in one place and being able to generate reports at a time's notice. They can also clearly see if a purchase order has been approved, which removes the risk of committing to something that really shouldn't have in the first place. So next, requisitions will help you prevent information silos from forming by giving all departments a centralized way of making a purchase. With this process in place, your finance team will be able to monitor the potential spend, capture all of the relevant data, and gain more control in order to meet their budgets. Okay, so moving on to the next workflow of invoices, and this is really the bread and butter of our platform here. The top issue with manual invoice processing is cost. And when considering labor alone, if you have one AP clerk processing invoices at $20 an hour, or approximately $3,400 per month, and they have 300 or 400 invoices to get through monthly, that would cost your business about $9 to $12 per invoice. And that AP clerk could really be spending their time on more value-added tasks than rather than data entry. Other challenges in the manual process of processing of invoice are the much dreaded data entry again. And in a study with Level Research, they found that 65% of mid-market organizations still enter their invoices manually. The next is the slow processing time or approval time. And again, from the same study, for organizations that have little to no automation, it can take 45 to 23 days to process an invoice. And lastly, lost invoices is another issue, which might be sitting on someone's desk or dumped underneath a stack of paper. And Level Research found that 42% of organizations surveyed identified lost invoices as one of their top challenges. So how does invoice automation solve all of these, plus help you reduce costs again? So I have an announcement to make here. We finally adding AI into the solution, and rather than relying on solely the human data capture component, which only took care of the header information, such as the legal entity, vendor name, invoice number, date, totals, and taxes, the new, we now have OCR, which will also capture the line items individually and speed the capture up from overnight down to an instantaneous process. This solution will still have the human verification piece to ensure that 99% accuracy, but OCR will allow us to continue adding functionality and automation through into the future. Next, you eliminate approval follow-ups, as users can use approve invoices through the mobile app and the browser. So the system will also be responsible for following up with approvers on the behalf of the accounting team, which will really relieve a huge amount of stress and keep your internal relationship strong as a finance team, because you'll no longer have to be following up with your teams. On screen, you actually see a short demo of the approval process to show you how simple and easy it actually is. And a stronger approval process will also mitigate the risk of fraud, waste, and abuse. I spoke to Derek Kawa at Hearn Industrial Services last month, and he told me that recently they received an invoice that was completely fraudulent, but it looked quite normal from one of their other vendors. But after being uploaded to Beamworks and routed through their approval channels to the appropriate person, they instantly defined it as a fraudulent invoice. If something like this happens and your accounting is primarily manual, it can take up to 14 months before your business detects fraud like this that has occurred. So you can also eliminate silos by sharing access with unlimited users. You can also customize access based on factors like location, invoice amount, department, entity, and more. Because of this, you will actually have an improved audit trail, as you'll no longer need to limit the access to your AP process to save time on licensing cost or other areas like that. So due to an 83% reduction in data entry and a 99% reduction in the approval follow-ups that are happening in your business, and among other workflow efficiencies, organizations have seen anywhere from a 60 to 80% reduction in the cost associated with processing an invoice, with the average coming down to $236 per invoice from around $12. The third AP process we're going over today is expenses. So a survey conducted in 2018 with 500 AP professionals showed that 47% of employees find expense submissions too time-consuming. Another 38% of employees said it was too long to receive their reimbursement. And then here's an interesting insight from the research that 18% of expense reports that their coworkers had actually submitted were personal and non-work related expenses, or had those on there. So expense automation helps streamline reporting, processing, and reimbursing, and I'll show you how now. Expense automation helps eliminate that double data entry by allowing employees to actually easily code their own expenses, and the simplified expense categories that we can create can be mapped to your existing GL codes, saving your accounting team time on the back end as well. And then also OCR is being added to further reduce the burden on employees to when they're actually submitting the expense reports in the first place. So that will further help on the data entry piece. And now with regards to complaints, integrated expense management system, you'll be able to reimburse your employees in a faster manner right through the application, and you'll allow them to be able to track their own expenses and where they are in the system, thus reducing the number of employee complaints that you get around where the money's at in the process itself. Also, as your expense interface is familiar to the other modules in our platform, the ramp up time in this platform is actually very quick. And this is proven by the fact that we've already got 30 customers using the solution, and that's since we've released the module less than a month ago. So by having the mobile app to capture your receipts instantaneously, along with the automated approval channels to route your submissions for approval, you can actually minimize the potential for late submissions. You'll also be able to have a clear understanding of which expense reports are still outstanding through the expense reporting tools that you have available in the application. Now, a study conducted by Paystream advisors with AP teams that had already automated their expense system said that 66% of AP professionals noticed an improved spend visibility, 53% identified reduced processing costs in general, and 59% cited an improved ability to enforce their policies, which is very important for most organizations. Even though the study was from a few years back, I think we all agree that manually processing expenses is not fun for anyone involved. Finally, let's move on to the fourth AP workflow, which is payments, and that's also included all within the same platform here. Here are some findings from more recent studies done with finance professionals as well. And the first being, with the impact of the pandemic here today and remote work limitations, 46% of businesses are still not in a position to make remote payments. There's also been a 112% increase in invoice and payment fraud from the first quarter to the second quarter of 2020. We all know what was happening around those dates. An alarming stat from another study looking into the cost of duplicate payments, it found that the typical businesses experience invoice duplication at a rate of about 1.29%. And so if they process 300 to 400 invoices a month, that means that there's about 4 to 5 duplicates that would get submitted monthly. And if those are all paid, that's about 8 to 10K loss based on average figures that we received from the market. So definitely worth finding a solution for. And sorry, payment automation opens up a wide range of benefits, which are especially relevant right now during an economic crisis. So the document management capabilities within the tool automatically match your PO, invoices, and any other supporting documents back to the invoice itself in the application, as well as the full audit trail of approvals and data entry. You can also identify the status of your payments in real time and rely on the system to flag any duplicates so that you are ensuring that you're not actually making payments twice. Our payment module supports EFT, virtual credit cards, checks, wires, and foreign exchange. And you also get cash back as you start migrating your vendors over to VCC. But the most important part of the process is eliminating checks, as that's the most expensive payment method. When we change our messaging from getting rebates on the VCC to saving time and money cutting checks, our customer adoption rate of our payment module went up from 2% to 90%. And that's basically because of the pain people really feel today on keeping the check processing in place. And here's actually a quick quote from one of our Sage 300 customers, Science World, who we are actually releasing a case study for this week. Douglas Chow, the finance supervisor there, says that the most money they saved through moving onto the platform was through virtual payments, as they no longer need to spend the time stuffing the envelopes and adding postage. And he also stated that they would need another whole employee or FTE if they weren't on the solution today. Companies that automated their accounts payable have seen a 5 to 35% increase in their supplier discount capture, and savings also come in through rebates earned through virtual credit cards. And these are specific to payments, these benefits. Another 37% have reported a reduction in the level of risk in areas of fraud, audit, and compliance. And they've also seen a 10 times reduction in the cost switching to from paper checks to electronic payments. So some great benefits there as well. Now, automation targets the commonly dreaded challenges that accounting teams experience. managing AP with disconnected workflows stops you from having that 360-degree view of the entire process. It's really impossible to make analysis and forecasts without information that's accurate and easily accessible. So when searching for an AP automation platform or software, look for a solution that ties in all of the functions on one central platform. And that's how we do it here at Beamworks, which means no loose spreadsheets or random software that's shared by individual departments. Sage AP Automation integrates your Sage financial system with an all-rounded AP experience for all of the process areas you see here. You eliminate the manual AP entry by capturing data electronically. You enable electronic routing and simplify approvals through a mobile app. And with timely payments, you get better handle over your forecasting and a complete view of your spend. And the fact that you can generate reports easily means you have financial visibility that cannot come from a paper or disintegrated solution. And by doing these things, you can achieve complete control over your accounts payable process within one secure system here with Beamworks. So I'm going to jump into what that promotion is here now for BAASS customers, as we really want to promote you in taking a look at the platform. If you do sign up for Sage AP Automation this month or by the magic date of December 25th, we'll actually waive the setup fee completely, which is $6,000. But don't worry, we're not going to make you implement over your Christmas holidays. It's just a promotion for December here. So to take advantage of this, visit the link on the screen here and fill out a short form, and we'll send you over invite for that personalized demo at your availability. We'll be able to get you that later if you've missed that link here. And that brings us to the end of the session today. If you are curious to learn more or get a personalized demo, you can reach out to me at dylan.hume@Beamworks or at sales@Beamworks, and we'll be able to get that booked for you. You can also reach out to your BAASS representative, as they have all of the information you need to get started and the promotion itself. So at this point, I'll pass it back to BAASS, and hopefully we can get some questions around the platform, and I can answer those for you now.
Thank you so much, Dylan, for that. And I do have a fairly lengthy question, so I'm going to do my best to get all the information in here.
Okay.
So one of the attendees has asked, we have two challenges in coding our invoices that have forced us to manually code invoices. The first issue is allocating taxes to multiple items on one invoice when those items are charged to different accounts.
Okay.
The second part is, as a charity, we can't take ITCs on GST, but we do claim a rebate equal to 50% of GST paid. And then we allocate the balance of the GST to the expense account.
Right.
Sometimes on multiple accounts on one invoice, as per my first challenge. How would Beamworks handle these allocations? Now, before you answer that, Dylan, if that is more of a specific question, we can definitely take that offline and have you follow up with the attendee. If there's a more general answer that we can go to, that's totally fine too. So
you know what, I think I am going to take it offline, but we do handle taxes for Sage 300 and Sage 100 and whatever your system you're on. But because it's very unique to this customer, I'd rather just handle that directly. So let's take it offline.
I'd say more generally, could you touch on how Beamworks handles tax allocations just on a general front, in case anybody else had a question about taxes?
Yeah, it basically integrates into the tax services within Sage 300. So we can plug the tax figures directly in that way. Yeah. So I mean, I'd love to take that one offline with anyone as well. And if they jump on a demo, we can actually show them specifically how taxes are brought into this process.
Perfect. So I'll make sure that you guys get connected. Yeah. Some other questions we have are, I have 4 different companies with different people involved in approvals. Can they all have access?
Yes. Well, first of all, we have unlimited user access, so everyone can have access to the application. And if they're in like different entities even, you can plug different Sage instances into the same Beamworks Sage AP automation platform. So you can set them up under different approval channels by entity or the same approval channel, but everyone can come into the same platform. And it's very customizable how we can set up the entity structure and group structure within the platform.
Wonderful. Another question is, what kind of support is included?
Great question. We have support available from 9 a.m. Eastern time through to 8 p.m. 5 days a week, as well as you have a customer success manager that's available to you at their availability that you can email with directly. So yeah, that's available with the application free of charge as part of your subscription.
Another question from an attendee is, can you touch on the price structure? Is it price per document or a one-time fee?
Yeah, no, it's a subscription. So you're paying a plan fee for basically just to get you into the application itself and cover you for all the features you get. And then you pay based on your tier of invoices. So as your number of invoices goes up, your price per invoice goes down. But yeah, you're basically starting at around $300 per month for a very low invoice structure, and it goes up from there.
And another question we have is, about how long does it take to get set up?
Great question as well. It's about 2 to 3 weeks typically to get a customer up and running. And typically that's dependent on the customer's availability, because we have 3 or 4 key meetings to get through, and those are scheduled at different dates. But our CSM will basically book those as quickly as you guys can get your teams together for the integration, configuration meetings, and then the training at the end.
Wonderful. That's all the questions we've had come in. So thank you so much, Dylan, for presenting today.
Thank you for having me. It's if anyone has any questions, again, my email is right on the screen, and you can also just contact whoever your BAASS rep is, and they can start the process with you and get us in touch later. So
excellent.
Thanks everyone for joining, and we'll talk soon, hopefully.